Security, drag this kitchen theft out before her poverty stains the carpet. You stole my 27 million naira bracelet. You people see rich homes and suddenly forget your level.
Aisha Kokorao's voice cracked across the packed eco-convention center like a whip. 300 people turned toward Dami Okafor, the former housekeeper, standing alone beside the aisle, her fingers trembling around a worn brown handbag. "You stole my 27 million naira bracelet," Aisha continued, pointing at her as cameras rose. "You people see rich homes and suddenly forget your level. Today, everybody will know what you are." A glass slipped from a waiter Alo's tray. It shattered. Dami did not move. She only lifted her chin and said, "Madam, repeat that accusation into the microphone. Let nobody say tomorrow that I misunderstood you." Aisha laughed and snatched the microphone. "I said you are a thief." Beside her, Yemi Daniels adjusted his expensive cufflinks, smiling like the company already belonged to him. Wale Balagan stood near the stage, silent, wearing the face of a man Aisha believed she had finished, his mansion sold, his wedding cancelled, his reputation bleeding. Then Wale raised one finger. The lights dimmed. The giant screen behind Aisha came alive. At exactly 8:34 that evening, a woman in Aisha Alo's silk robe appeared on the footage, opened Dami Alo's locker, and placed the missing bracelet inside. The hall stopped breathing. But that was only the first video. Before we uncover the betrayal that nearly destroyed 287 workers and sent an innocent woman to prison, subscribe now, because leaving this story halfway will make you miss the moment every lie returned to its owner. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from, and what is the local time there? Because when the second file opened, Aisha Alo's knees nearly gave way. 37 days earlier, Lagos was shining under a hard Wednesday sun. At 4:17 that afternoon, traffic along Alfred Rewain Road had slowed into one long impatient river of horns, air conditioning fumes and drivers squeezing their faces through half-open windows. Wale Balagun sat in the back of a dark grey Mercedes, holding a narrow leather box on his lap while his driver, Sani Bello, tried to escape a bus that had stopped without warning. Inside the box was a custom-made diamond necklace Wale had ordered 4 months earlier for Aisha Alo's wedding morning. It had cost him 31 million naira. Normally, Wale would have remained at the office until after 9. Balogun Urban Projects was handling 6 developments across Lagos, and the Marina Crest site alone had consumed most of his life for the past 18 months. But that afternoon, a structural review meeting had ended early, and he had decided to surprise the woman he would marry in 23 days. He believed surprises kept love alive. The Ikoyi mansion stood behind a charcoal gate, quiet and spotless beneath 2 almond trees. Wale entered through the side door because he did not want the security men announcing him. The cool air inside carried the smell of sandalwood, fresh lilies, and something frying in the distant kitchen. A woman Alo's voice rose from the dining room. "Dami, are you deaf? Or has poverty blocked your ears?" Wale stopped. Aisha was standing beside the long marble table in a cream silk dressing gown. 3 fabric samples lay before her, each imported from Italy for the wedding reception. Dami Okafor stood 2 meters away in her navy uniform, holding a tray of ginger tea with both hands. I said, "Move back." Aisha snapped. "Do not stand near my wedding fabric with those kitchen hands. The smell of onions and suffering can enter cloth." Dami lowered her eyes. "Sorry, Ma. I only came to serve the tea." "And who asked you to speak?" "Place it there and disappear. This house is not a village meeting where every person must contribute." Wale watched from the shadow of the passage. Dami placed the tray on a side table, Her movements were careful, but 1 teaspoon touched the saucer with a soft, metallic click. Aisha Alo's face tightened as though the sound had insulted her personally. "Look at you shaking," she said. "Have you ever seen a proper wedding before? One flower arrangement in this house costs more than everything your family owns. Yet you are moving around as if you belong here." Dami swallowed. "No problem, Ma. No problem." Aisha laughed. "Your whole life is the problem. Go and check the soup before you burn what you cannot afford to replace." Dami turned away. For 1 second, her eyes lifted and met Wal Alo's in the passage. Surprise flashed across her face. Then something else followed. Embarrassment, sharp and immediate. She did not want him to see her standing there like a child being corrected. Wale stepped forward. "Aisha," she spun around. The cruelty vanished so quickly that it almost looked rehearsed. "Baby!" Her voice became warm. "You allure home early." She crossed the room, kissed his cheek and smiled as if nothing had happened. Dami continued towards the kitchen without looking back. Wale Alo's hand tightened around the leather box. What was that?" he asked. "What was what?" "The way you spoke to Dami." Aisha waved one hand. "Please, don't start carrying staff on your head. I have told you before that girl is careless. If I don't correct her, she will become too familiar. She was bringing you tea, and I corrected the way she brought it. Is that now a board meeting?" Aisha touched his chest. "You have been working too hard. You are looking for problems where there are none." Wale glanced toward the kitchen door. Respecting someone who works in your house is not carrying them on your head. Aisha Ala's smile remained, but her eyes cooled. "Fine. I will apologize later if that will make you happy." He knew that tone. It meant the conversation was finished because she had decided it was beneath her. Wale almost handed her the necklace anyway. Almost. Then her phone rang on the table. She glanced at the screen and turned it face down. "I need 10 minutes to finish with the decorators. Go upstairs, freshen up. I'll join you." Wale nodded slowly. He placed the leather box inside his jacket instead of giving it to her and walked toward the study. He did not go upstairs. The study door stood partly open. He entered, put the box on his desk and called Tayo Nwosu, the company Alo's chief legal and compliance officer. Tayo did not answer. Wei left a short message, then opened his laptop to review the Marina Crest report that had arrived that morning. Less than 5 minutes later, Aisha Alo's voice floated through the thin partition between the study and the smaller lounge beside it. This time she was laughing. "Yemi, stop! You will make me shout in this house." Wale Alo's fingers froze above the keyboard. Yemi Daniels. The name belonged to a senior corporate banker who had been circling Balogun urban projects for almost a year. Always with a smile, always offering finance that came with too many strings. Wale had met him at 2 industry dinners. Aisha had claimed she barely knew him. Her voice lowered. "No, he is not here. Wale is still at the office. That man can sleep inside concrete if you allow him." Wale stared at the partition. A man Alo's voice answered through the phone speaker, too faint to catch clearly. Aisha laughed again. "Of course I still want you. But I cannot do anything foolish now. The wedding is in 23 days, and his lawyer is still disturbing us about that agreement." Wale Alo's breathing changed. The prenuptial agreement had not been intended as an insult. Tayo had recommended it because Wale Alo's company employed hundreds of people and held investments that could not be mixed carelessly with personal property. Aisha had cried when he first mentioned it, saying he was preparing for divorce before marriage. Wale had delayed signing because he hated seeing her hurt. Now, she continued, "If I marry him before the agreement is complete, My position becomes stronger, do you understand? After that, we can take our time. Let him keep running around like the responsible saint of Lagos. The man spoke again. Aisha Alo's answer came without hesitation. Love? Please. Whale does not even know how to enjoy money. If he sees 10 billion naira, he starts thinking of workers' low pensions and drainage systems. He is useful, not exciting. Whale closed his eyes. The house became painfully still around him. Somewhere beyond the window, a generator coughed to life in a neighboring compound. A spoon struck a pot in the kitchen. His own heartbeat sounded louder than both. Then Aisha said something that turned pain into cold attention. That maid saw me enter your car last Friday. Whale opened his eyes. Yes, Dammy. The one who walks around with that innocent face. She did not say anything, but I know she saw us. I will handle her before the wedding. A pause. No, I cannot simply sack her. Wale will ask questions. He likes behaving as if every cleaner is a board member. I need a reason he cannot argue with. Wale Alo's hand moved slowly toward his phone. He pressed record. Aisha continued talking about the company, about Yemi Alo's interest in Marina Crest, about how Wali kept confidential papers in his home study. She did not know the access codes, but she knew where he kept temporary board packs when late meetings ended at the house. Once we are married, she said, you will have what you need. Then you can help me protect my own future. Whale recorded 4 minutes and 38 seconds before the call ended. He did not burst into the lounge. He did not throw the phone at her feet or demand an explanation. The anger came, hot and violent. But years of negotiating land disputes and construction failures had trained him not to make permanent decisions in temporary heat. So he remained seated. The leather gift box sat beside him like evidence from another man Arlo's life. Whale opened it once. The diamonds caught the afternoon light and threw small, bright shapes across the desk. He shut it. At 4:39, Tayo returned his call. Whale, hope no problem? You sounded serious. I need you at the house, Whale said. Come through the back entrance. Do not call anyone. There was silence at the other end. What happened? I heard something I was not supposed to hear. About Aisha. Whale looked toward the wall separating him from the woman he had planned to marry. Yes, Tayo exhaled slowly. I am on my way. Before Whale could end the call, another notification appeared on his laptop. It was marked urgent and came from the independent engineering firm reviewing Marina Crest. Preliminary ministerial fascia confirmed. Whale opened the attachment. 17 concrete core samples taken from the east and central towers had failed the required strength test. 3 inspection signatures did not match the engineers who supposedly signed them. A laboratory certificate had been altered after issue. The projected cost of demolition, remediation, and customer protection was 6,430 million naira. Whale read the number twice. Then his phone rang again. This time it was Kola Adebayo, the project director. Oga Whale, Kola said, his voice unsteady. The engineers have stopped all work. 287 workers are on site asking what will happen to them. The Buyers Aloe Association has also heard rumors. Whale stared through the study window at the green lawn, where Aisha wanted a champagne fountain installed for their pre-wedding dinner. How much cash is available in the project account? He asked. After supplier commitments, 1,112 million. And the insurance. They may dispute liability because the subcontractor submitted fraudulent documents. Do not send anybody home, Whale said. Pay today Alo's wages. Secure the site. Nobody should touch the affected sections until the engineers complete documentation. Oga, the board will want layoffs immediately. The board can want anything. Nobody loses a job tonight. Whale ended the call. Within 22 minutes, the two foundations of his life had cracked at once. The woman he loved was planning to use him, and the company he had built from one rented office was facing the largest crisis in its history. Behind the study door, Aisha began humming. She had no idea. Tayo arrived at 5:26, wearing the same charcoal suit he had worn to court that morning. He was 51, broad-shouldered, grey at the temples, and too experienced to be impressed by wealth. Whaley trusted him because Tayo had told him no more often than most people told him yes. Sani led him through the service entrance. Dummy was arranging plates on the kitchen counter when Tayo entered. She greeted him softly, then glanced toward the main corridor. "Mr. Whale is in the study, sir." "Thank you, my daughter." Tayo noticed the redness around her eyes, but he did not ask. He entered the study and closed the door. Whale played the recording. Tayo listened without interrupting. His face did not change when Aisha mocked the prenuptial agreement. It did not change when she called Whale useful, but unexciting. It changed when she mentioned Dami, the home study, and Yemi Allo's need for company documents. When the audio ended, Tayo removed his glasses. "Send this file to me through the secure channel," he said. "Keep the original device. Do not edit it. Do not forward it on WhatsApp, and do not confront her with it yet." Whale looked at him. "You believe me. I believe the recording says what it says. Belief is not the issue now. Evidence and action are. She has been planning this inside my house. Yes. She wants to marry me, gain access, and help Yemi take my company. Possibly. But do not jump beyond what we can prove." Tayo leaned forward. "The recording is useful, but some parts are incomplete. We heard Aisha. We did not clearly hear Yemi. We need access records, document logs, and a proper internal review." Whale turned toward the window. "I want her out tonight." "That is understandable. It may also warn both of them before we know how far this has gone." Whale. Al's jaw tightened. Tayo continued. "There is another matter. Marina Crest. You saw the report?" "On my way here." "The situation is real, Whale. This is not a small embarrassment we can manage with public relations. If the altered certificates entered our compliance system, someone inside either failed badly or cooperated. Can we save the project with money, time, and transparency? Without those three, no. How much time? Minimum 12 weeks before we know whether the insurance claim and recovery actions will cover the damage. Longer before reconstruction. The board will push to isolate the project company and let creditors fight over it. That will destroy the buyers and preserve the parent company." Whale looked at him. "You are advising me to do that. I am telling you what the board will say. My advice is that we first establish our legal obligations, protect life, preserve evidence, and stop further loss. Then you decide what kind of owner you want to be." Whale gave a humorless laugh. "Today everybody is asking me what kind of man I want to be. No. Today's circumstances are asking. People will answer for you if you refuse." The words stayed in the room. At 6:05, Aisha knocked once and entered without waiting. "Tayo, I didn't let know you were here." Her smile was smooth. "Are you people planning another meeting inside my wedding month?" "Good evening, Aisha," Tayo said. She turned to Whale. "The decorator needs approval for the imported orchids. It is an additional 12 million, but the local ones look tired." Whale stared at her for a moment. "Sit down." Aisha's smile weakened. "Hope no problem?" "There is a serious problem at Marina Crest." He explained only what the engineering report had confirmed. He told her the site was suspended, that remediation could cost more than 6 billion naira, and that the company might need to sell personal assets and reduce non-essential spending. Aisha listened with her hands folded in her lap. When he finished, she asked, "What does this mean for the wedding?" Tayo looked down at the folder before him. Walls Alo's face remained still. "It means the current budget cannot continue. How much are you cutting?" "All of it for now. We may have a small legal ceremony later, but the reception is cancelled." Aisha blinked. "Cancelled?" "The venue deposit can still be recovered. The planners have not paid most foreign vendors. You cannot cancel my wedding because one contractor mixed bad cement." "It is our wedding," Whale said, "and this is not one bag of cement. People bought homes from us. Workers depend on the project." Aisha stood. "So because some people cannot wait for their apartments, I should walk into a registry like a market woman?" "No one said that. You said, small legal ceremony. What is the difference?" She began pacing. "Do you know how many people have booked flights? Do you know what I have told my friends? My bridal shower alone has already been featured by 2 lifestyle pages." Whale watched her carefully. 287 workers may lose their income. "And I am sorry for them. But why must their problem enter my marriage?" Tayo closed his folder. Aisha turned on him. "And you stop sitting there like a village elder. Every time there is happiness in this house, you bring one agreement or another." "Aisha," Wale warned. "No, let me speak. The company has insurance. Use it. Fire whoever caused the problem. Sue them. Why are you behaving as if you personally poured the concrete?" "Because my name is on the building. Your name is also on this wedding." Wale stood slowly. "That is enough." The room went quiet. Aisha stared at him. She was not used to hearing that tone from Wale. He rarely raised his voice, and he had not raised it now. "That made it worse," he continued. "The reception is suspended. The Bentley and Range Rover will be listed for sale tomorrow. I am also reviewing the house." Her lips parted. "Which house?" "This house. You want to sell this mansion?" "If it becomes necessary." Aisha laughed once, but no amusement entered it. "You are not thinking straight." "I have never thought more clearly." "What about the honeymoon property in Cape Town?" "Also under review." She stared at him as if she had just discovered a stranger living behind his face. Then she picked up her phone. "I need air." "Aisha." She stopped at the door. "If the life we planned becomes smaller for a while," Wale asked, "does that change what we are?" Her shoulders stiffened. "That is not a fair question. It is a simple one." She turned. "Wale, please, love is not an excuse for financial recklessness. You cannot expect me to smile while you throw away everything we built because of workers who will leave you the moment. Another company pays them 5,000 naira more. They built the towers. They are laborers. That is what they are paid for. And you?" he asked quietly. "What are you here for?" Aisha Alo's eyes narrowed. She walked out without answering. Tayo waited until the front door slammed. "She has given you part of your answer," he said. "The part?" "The rest will show itself when comfort becomes expensive." Wei looked down at the closed leather box on his desk. That night, Dami finished her shift at 8:40. She changed into a faded green blouse and black skirt in the small staff room, then checked the envelope inside her handbag 3 times before leaving. The envelope contained 28,000 naira for her mother, Alo's next hospital review, and 12,000 for transport and medication. At 29, Dami had become skilled at dividing money before it entered her hand. Rent, food, electricity, hospital, evening classes. Nothing remained long enough to be called savings. Sani offered to drop her at the bus stop. As they walked toward the gate, he lowered his voice. Madam shouted at you again? Dami adjusted the strap of her bag. I am managing. That woman Aloe's mouth has no break. Please, Sani, do not let this thing become gossip. You should tell Oga. And say what? That his future wife told me I smell of onions? Dami shook her head. People like us must choose our battles. One careless complaint, and they will say you are jealous of the madam of the house. But Oga Wele is not like that. I know. Then tell him. Dami looked back at the mansion. Its windows glowed gold against the evening sky. He has seen enough today, she said. Sani did not know what she meant. Dami had seen Wale in the corridor. She had also seen the expression on his face when Aisha turned sweet in one breath. She knew he had understood something, though she did not know how much. At the bus stop, her phone rang. It was her mother. My daughter, hope you are not still at work, Ruth Okafor asked. I just closed, Mama. The hospital called. They moved the test to Friday morning. How much? 36,500. Dami stopped beside a kiosk selling phone cards. They said 28. They added one scan. I told them we will come. Dami looked inside her handbag at the envelope that was suddenly too small. We will come. Do not worry. Dami, I can postpone it. No, you have postponed enough. There was a soft silence. Then Ruth said, Do not kill yourself because of me. Mama, who else will I trouble if you are not here? Dami forced a smile into her voice. Rest. I will handle it. She ended the call and stood still while buses came and went. The city moved around her without noticing. By Friday morning, Balagoon Urban Projects had established a crisis room on the 10th floor of its Victoria Island headquarters. Engineering drawings covered one wall. Legal files covered another. The board sat around a table, large enough for 20 people, but nobody touched the breakfast placed at the side. Kola Adebayo presented the facts. The affected structural sections can be removed without demolishing the entire development, but the remedial design will cost between 5.9 and 6.8 billion naira. We must also house 12 families whose temporary rental support expires next month. A board member named Bode Williams removed his glasses. We cannot absorb this, Swiss. Put the project subsidiary into administration. The parent company must survive. A second member nodded. Pause wages. Retain only essential staff. How many people go home? Whaley asked. Kola checked his notes. If we reduce to preservation staffing, 211 immediately. The remaining 76 may follow within 4 weeks. Whale leaned back. 211 people. Not figures. People. Some would have rent due. Some would have school fees. Some would be supporting parents in villages that never appeared in company reports. Whale knew business could not operate on emotion alone, but he also knew spreadsheets had a way of hiding the human beings carrying their consequences. What liquidity can we raise without selling the company? He asked. The finance director answered. If you suspend dividends, sell non-core land, and contribute the assets you mentioned, approximately 3.7 billion within 30 days, we can negotiate the rest against the insurance claim and recovery action. Bode shook his head. Well, you are talking about selling your own house to keep casual workers employed. I am talking about keeping the company Alo's promise while we investigate how it was broken. They are not shareholders. They are stakeholders whether the document recognizes them or not. Bode slapped the table lightly. This is sentiment. No, Whale said. Sentiment would be pretending the money does not matter. It matters. We will cut executive allowances by 40%, freeze my compensation, suspend dividends and sell non-core assets. But we will not send 211 people home before we know whether this crisis will last 12 weeks or 12 months. The room remained silent. Then Tayo spoke. I support the decision with conditions. Wage protection must be placed in a ring-fenced account. Customer deposits must be segregated. All remediation spending must be independently audited. Nobody, including Whale, should move money informally in the name of helping. Whale nodded. Agreed. Bode looked from one man to the other. You people have already decided. No, Tayo said. We have proposed a course. The board will vote. The vote passed by 6-3. At 11:52, Whale signed the first asset instruction. At 12:06, Aisha received an alert from the wedding planner, informing her that the venue booking had been suspended. At 12:11, she called Whale 17 times. He did not answer until the meeting ended. When he finally picked up, her voice came through like fire. Are you mad? Whale walked into the empty corridor. Watch how you speak to me. You cancelled Eco Convention Center without telling me. I told you the wedding budget was suspended. Suspended is not cancelled. The deposit had a recovery deadline today. What will I tell people? Tell them the truth. That my fiancé values bricklayers more than me. Whale closed his eyes for 1 second. A wedding cannot cost more than the dignity of 287 people. Aisha became very quiet. Then she said, You will regret making me small in public. The call ended. Whale lowered the phone. At the other end of the city, Aisha stood inside a bridal showroom, surrounded by mirrors. Her reflection appeared 6 times, each version wearing anger differently. Behind her, Dami held a garment bag containing the reception dress. Aisha turned slowly. You heard him cancel the hall? She asked. Dami hesitated. The planner mentioned it, Ma. Aisha walked closer. Do you find it funny? No, Ma. Maybe you are happy. Now the rich woman Alo's wedding is becoming small, so people like you can feel equal. Dami Alo's grip tightened around the garment bag. I would never be happy about your pain. Pain? Aisha Alo's laugh was sharp. What do you know about pain? You people wake up poor every day and still manage to eat. Disappointment is your natural climate. The showroom assistant looked away. Dami swallowed the answer rising in her throat. Aisha leaned close enough for her perfume to fill Dami Alo's breathing. Let me warn you. Do not mistake Whale Alo's softness for protection. When this house begins to cut expenses, the first thing to go will be unnecessary staff. Dami met her eyes. Then I will collect what I am owed and find another job. Aisha Alo's expression changed. It was the first time Dami had answered without shrinking. What did you say? I said I will work while I am employed, Ma. If I am dismissed, I will collect my proper benefits and leave. For 3 long seconds, neither woman moved. Then Aisha smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Benefits, she repeated softly. So the kitchen girl has started learning big grammar. Dami said nothing. Aisha Alo's gaze fell to the brass key clipped inside Dami Alo's handbag, the key to the staff locker room. Then it moved to the diamond bracelet on her own wrist. Something cold settled behind her eyes. Carry the dress, she said. We are going home. The following Thursday, the mansion hosted what Aisha called a private family dinner. Though 41 guests and sat arrived in designer clothes, and 6 hired photographers waited near the garden. She had refused to cancel it after the wedding reception disappeared, insisting that people must see she was still in control. By 7:00 the dining room glowed beneath crystal lights. A saxophonist played beside the terrace. Champagne moved from hand to hand while guests whispered about Marina Crest, the suspended wedding, and whether Wale Balagun had finally become less rich than his reputation. Whale heard the whispers. He allowed them. He had spent the afternoon signing the sale mandate for the Bentley and approving a temporary support plan for the 12 displaced families. The laughter around him felt far away. But he remained present because Tayo had asked him not to change his normal pattern too suddenly. People who are hiding something become careful when they feel watched, Tayo had said. Sometimes the best way to see them clearly is to behave as though you have seen nothing. So Whale greeted guests. He thanked the saxophonist. He even posed for one photograph beside Aisha, though she placed her hand on his chest, like a claim rather than affection. Dami moved through the room with 2 temporary servers hired for the evening. She carried trays, checked the kitchen and made sure an elderly guest received the sugar-free meal requested by her doctor. She was tired. Ruth Allow's hospital tests had cost more than expected, and Dami had attended her facilities management class until 9:15 the previous night. Still, she worked carefully. At 8:23, Aisha entered the powder room beside the guest suite and removed the diamond bracelet from her wrist. It was a heavy piece with alternating emerald-cut stones and smaller round diamonds, insured for 27 million naira. She placed it inside its red velvet case, wrapped the case in a linen handkerchief, and slipped it into the pocket of her robe, which she had hidden beneath a shawl in the wardrobe. At 8:31, she sent Dami to the gatehouse with a sealed envelope for the lead security officer. At 8:34, she entered the staff corridor. The electronic door recorded her access card. The locker room itself used ordinary keys. Aisha had taken Dami Allow's spare key from the administrative drawer 2 days earlier and made a copy at a shop in Lekki Phase 1. She opened locker number 7, pushed aside Dami Allow's folded uniform and placed the velvet case beneath a small packet of sanitary pads. She paused before closing the door. Then she took out her phone and photographed the inside. At 8:38, she returned to the party. Nobody challenged her. At 9:07, the saxophonist stopped playing. Aisha stood near the center of the room, staring at her bare wrist. "My bracelet," she said. The people nearest her continued talking. She raised her voice. "My bracelet is gone." Conversation broke apart in waves. Whale came from the terrace. "Which bracelet?" "The diamond one. The one you gave me for my birthday. Where did you last see it?" "It was on my wrist. Before dinner." Aisha turned in a slow circle, examining the room. Nobody should leave. Several guests laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. She was not. "Close the gate," she told the security officer. "Search the staff." Dami stopped near the kitchen door with a tray in her hands. Whale Allow's eyes moved to her, then back to Aisha. "No one is being searched without a proper reason. The reason is that my jewelry has disappeared inside my own house. There are 41 guests here." Aisha Allow's face hardened. "Are you suggesting we search Chief Adeyemi Allow's wife before we search the people carrying plates?" A silence dropped over the room. Chief Adeyemi Allow's wife placed her glass on a table. Whale Allow's voice became low. "I am suggesting that wealth is not evidence of innocence, and employment is not evidence of guilt." Aisha stared at him. "This is not the time for one of your speeches." Dami set the tray down carefully. "I have not taken anything, sir." Aisha spun toward her. "Did I call your name?" "No, ma." "Then why are you defending yourself?" "A clean hand does not shake before water touches it." Dami looked at her own fingers. They were steady. "I am not shaking." The answer landed harder than Dami intended. Aisha walked across the room. Her heels struck the marble in quick, angry beats. She stopped so close that Dami could see the small muscle moving beside her mouth. "You have become very bold," Aisha said. Is it because the wedding is suffering and you think the house is now your level? No, Ma. Open your bag. Dami Alo's eyes moved to Whale. He stepped between them. Aisha, enough. No, Whale. You have carried this girl on your head until she has forgotten she is staff. My bracelet is worth more than 20 years of her salary. Who else here would risk stealing it? One of the temporary servers began crying quietly. Dami Alo's cheeks burned. She could feel 41 pairs of eyes moving over her uniform, her shoes, her hair, and the worn skin around her knuckles. Nobody had touched her, yet she felt stripped. Search my bag, she said. Whale turned to her. You do not have to consent under pressure. I know, sir. Her voice trembled now. But if I leave this room without allowing it, the story will grow legs before morning. Tayo, who had arrived late from a compliance meeting, came forward from the back of the room. If any search happens, he said, it will be witnessed, recorded, and limited. Nobody will touch personal medical items or expose her belongings to this crowd. Aisha folded her arms. Wonderful. We need a Supreme Court judgment to open a handbag. We need dignity, Tayo replied. The search took place in the breakfast room with Dami, Whale, Aisha, Tayo, and Grace Johnson, the female head of household administration. Dami placed her handbag on the table herself. Grace removed each item while Tayo made a written list. A wallet containing 6,800 naira, a bus card, 1 packet of paracetamol, Ruth Alo's hospital appointment slip, a blue notebook, a wrapped piece of bread Dami had saved from lunch, no bracelet. Aisha Alo's eyes narrowed. Her locker, she said. Dami Alo's stomach tightened. Why my locker? Because you have been changing uniforms all evening. So have the other workers, Tayo said. Aisha pointed at Dami. Search all of them, then. But start with her. Wei looked at Dami. You can refuse. Dami thought of the guests outside. She thought of Aisha Alo's threat in the bridal showroom. She thought of the way suspicion attached itself to poverty because people found it convenient. Open it, she said. The 5 of them entered the staff corridor. Grace used the master key. Tayo switched on his phone camera before the locker door moved. Inside were 2 folded uniforms, flat shoes, a packet of sanitary pads, and a small plastic container of stew. Grace lifted the first uniform. Nothing. She moved the sanitary pads. The red velvet case appeared beneath them. Nobody spoke. Grace stopped breathing for 1 visible second. Whale Alo's face lost color. Dami stared at the box as though it had grown inside her locker like a poisonous thing. Aisha made a sound of triumph. I knew it. She reached for the case. Tayo blocked her hand. Do not touch it. That is my bracelet. It is now evidence in an allegation. Dami shook her head. I did not put it there. Aisha laughed. Of course not. Maybe the diamonds walked from my wrist because they wanted to experience staff accommodation. I did not take it. Thief! Aisha shouted. After everything in this house, you still opened your dirty hand toward what can never belong to you. Dami stepped back as if struck. Whale Alo's voice cut through the corridor. Stop. Aisha turned on him. You are still defending her. I am stopping you from abusing her. Those are not the same thing. The bracelet is in her locker, and we will investigate how it got there. Aisha stared at him in disbelief. Call the police. Tayo closed the locker without touching the case. We will notify law enforcement if the owner wishes to make a formal complaint. But first the area must be preserved. Grace, please confirm nobody else enters this corridor. Security should export access logs immediately. Aisha slapped her palm against the wall. All of you are behaving like fools. The evidence is in front of your eyes. Evidence must be examined, Tayo said. Otherwise, it is only an object surrounded by assumptions. Dami looked at him, fighting tears. Aisha noticed. Cry, she said. Poor people know how to manufacture tears when their hands are caught. That did it. Damialo's chin lifted. Madam. Search everything, she said. Call whoever you want to call. But record who touches the evidence. Record who had access. Record the time. Poor people also deserve proper investigation. The corridor became still. Even Aisha had no immediate answer. Wei looked at Dami with something deeper than pity. He saw fear in her face, yes, but also knowledge. She had understood that innocence alone might not protect her. She needed process. Tayo nodded once. That is exactly what will happen. Back in the dining room, Aisha announced that an item had been recovered, and the matter was under control. She did not mention Dami by name, but her friends had watched enough to create their own conclusion. Phones moved beneath tables. Whispers traveled faster than food. Whale ended the dinner. By 10:14, every guest had left. Dami sat in the small office beside the kitchen, while Grace completed a suspension letter. Her hands were folded in her lap. She had stopped crying, but her eyes looked exhausted. Whale entered alone. Dami began to stand. Please sit, he said. She remained half-raised for a second, then lowered herself. Dami, while this is investigated, you will be placed on paid suspension. She stared at him. Paid? Yes. Full salary. This is not a finding of guilt. Aisha Alo's voice came from the doorway. You are rewarding theft. Whale turned. Leave us. This is my house too. Not this conversation. Aisha Alo's face tightened, but she walked away. Dami looked down at the paper. Sir, I swear before God I did not take that bracelet. I heard you. Do you believe me? Whale did not answer quickly. Dami Alo's mouth trembled. He leaned forward. I believe you deserve a fair investigation. I also know what I heard Aisha say about you before this happened. Dami looked up sharply. What did she say? That she wanted a reason to remove you. Dami Alo's face changed from fear to understanding. She knows I saw her, she whispered. Saw her where? Dami hesitated. Whale waited. Last Friday, she said. I was coming back from the pharmacy in Lekki. I saw Madam enter a black car outside a hotel. Mr. Yemi was inside. You are certain it was him? Yes, sir. He came here for dinner 2 months ago. Why did you not tell me? Dami looked at the suspension letter. Because I am your employee. If I accuse the woman you want to marry, who will you think is creating trouble? The question hurt because Wele could not honestly say she was wrong. He sat back. Did Aisha know you saw them? She looked directly at me before the car moved. Wele nodded slowly. Write down everything you remember. Time, place, color of the car, registration if you saw it, who was nearby. Do not discuss it with anyone else. Dami reached into her handbag, then remembered it was still being held for documentation. My blue notebook is inside. She said. I have been writing things down since she threatened me at the bridal shop. Whale stared at her. You kept a record? My evening lecturer teaches workplace safety. He said, when a person with power threatens your job, write dates, exact words, and witnesses. Memory becomes weak when fear is involved. For the first time that night, something like relief entered Wali Alo's chest. Not because the notebook would automatically prove anything. It would not. But because Dami had created a timeline before the bracelet disappeared. That mattered. At 11:02, Tayo Alo's team sealed the velvet case, exported the access control records, and secured the local camera recorder. He assigned 2 independent staff members to witness every transfer. Aisha watched from the staircase. Her arms were crossed. When Tayo looked up, she smiled. Waste your time, she said. A thief does not become innocent because lawyers use big words. Tayo closed the evidence bag. And an accusation does not become true because a wealthy person says it loudly. Aishalo's smile disappeared. At 11:19, Dami walked out of the mansion carrying her suspension letter and a copy of the property list from her handbag. Sani opened the car door for her. She stopped before entering. "Sir," she said to Whale, "please do not give my hospital paper to anybody. My mother does not know about this. I will protect your privacy." She nodded. Then her voice broke. "If they arrest me, who will take her for the scan on Monday?" Whale Alo's throat tightened. "No one is arresting you tonight, but later we will follow the evidence." Dami looked at him for a long moment. Sometimes evidence follows the person who placed it. The car carried her into the night. Whale remained at the gate until the red lights disappeared. Behind him, Aisha stood on the front steps wearing the diamond bracelet again. She fastened it around her wrist as though nothing had happened. At 7:30 the next morning, Tayo placed 3 printed reports on Wale Alo's dining table. The first was the electronic access log. Aisha Alo's card had opened the staff corridor at 2:13 on Tuesday morning, 2 days before the dinner. It had opened the same corridor again at 8:34, on the night the bracelet disappeared. The second report showed that Dami Alo's locker key had been copied at a Lekki locksmith 12 days earlier. The shop owner remembered the customer, only because she had arrived in a luxury car, and complained that the machine looked dirty. He had not recorded her name, but the payment had been made in cash. The third report was worse. 11 minutes and 22 seconds of camera footage from the staff corridor had been deleted. The deletion occurred at 9:51 on the night of the dinner, after the bracelet was found but before Tayo secured the recorder. "Who's had access to the camera system?" Whale asked. "The security administrator, the household administrator, and the guest account on your study computer," Tayo replied. "The guest account was used. Aisha knows that password. So do at least 3 event planners who used the study printer last month. Again, do not jump." Whale pushed back his chair. "How many times must I watch the same fire before I am allowed to call it burning? When calling it fire can destroy a person, one more time than anger requires." Whale walked to the window. Tayo allowed him a moment, then continued. "We have sent the recorder to an independent digital forensics firm. Deleted video is often recoverable if it was not overwritten. We also need Aisha Alo's explanation for the card entries. She will lie. Then let her lie in a form we can test." Aisha came downstairs at 8:04 wearing white gym clothes and sunglasses. She asked for coffee, saw Tayo at the table and stopped. "Why are you here again?" "We need to ask about your access card," Tayo said. She removed the sunglasses. "What about it? It opened the staff corridor at 2:13 on Tuesday morning, and again at 8:34 last night." Aisha did not blink. "That card has been missing since Monday. Did you report it?" "No. I thought I misplaced it in the house. Did you request another card?" "No." "Then how did you enter the main gate yesterday evening?" "The guards know me." Tayo wrote something in his notebook. "Where is the card now?" "I don't know. May we check the card holder in your handbag?" Aisha Alo's face sharpened. "Are you searching me now?" "I am asking a question. You have a thief in this house and you are questioning the victim. The owner of stolen property is not above examination, especially where access records require explanation." Aisha turned to Whale. "Will you sit there while your lawyer treats me like a criminal?" Whale looked at her calmly. "Where is the card?" Her mouth opened, then closed. "I told you. Missing." A phone began ringing inside the handbag on the sideboard. Aisha moved quickly toward it. As she lifted the bag, a black access card slipped from an outer pocket and landed on the marble floor. Nobody moved. Aisha stared down. Teo looked at the card, then at her. She bent and snatched it up. "This is another one." "There is only one card assigned to you," Teo said. "The system must be wrong. The system records a unique number." Aisha Alo's eyes flickered toward Whale. He did not rescue her. She picked up her coffee and walked out of the room without drinking it. At 8:12, Teo said that was useful. Whale Alo's voice was flat. "Useful is not the word I would choose." By noon, Aisha had moved 3 suitcases to the guest bedroom. She told her friends Whale was suffering from stress and allowing employees to manipulate him. Before sunset, one lifestyle blogger posted a vague message about a respected Lagos businessman who had chosen domestic staff drama E over his fiancée. Dami Alu's name was not mentioned. Her photograph appeared anyway. It came from an old birthday post on the mansion Alu's public page. Someone cropped the image until only Dami remained in uniform behind a cake table. The caption beneath it read, "When gratitude becomes greed." By the next morning, her phone would not stop ringing. Some callers asked whether she had really stolen diamonds. Others pretended to offer sympathy before requesting details. A woman from the hospital canteen, where Dami had applied for work weeks earlier, sent a short message saying the recruitment process was now on hold. Dami sat beside Ruth in the renal clinic waiting area and turned her phone face down. Ruth watched her. "Who is disturbing you?" "Wrong number." "Since morning?" Dami forced a smile. "Maybe my number entered one marketing list." Ruth did not believe her, but the nurse called them before she could ask again. The consultation lasted 33 minutes. Ruth Alo's kidney function had declined. The doctor recommended a treatment adjustment, additional tests, and a procedure that could not be delayed indefinitely. "How much should we prepare?" Dami asked. The doctor wrote the estimate on a sheet and turned it around. 1,860,000 naira over the next 4 months, if there were no complications. Dami stared at the number. Ruth touched her arm. "We will manage." Dami folded the paper carefully. "Yes, Mama." Outside the clinic, her phone rang again. This time it was Grace from the mansion. "Dami, I am sorry," Grace said. "Madam has instructed us to remove your belongings from the staff room. Tayo says we must inventory everything and send it to you, but I wanted you to know first." Dami closed her eyes. "Thank you. Also, the investigation team wants your notebook. They will make a copy and return it. I will bring it myself. Please don't come today. Madam is angry. It is still my workplace. You are suspended, with pay, not erased." Grace lowered her voice. "My sister, I am not against you. I just don't want another scene." Dami looked at her mother, who was waiting beneath a faded hospital awning. "Neither do I," she said, "but scenes are already following me." That afternoon, Whale met representatives of the Workers' Alo Union in a temporary office beside the Marina Crest site. Hard hats lined the floor. The air smelled of dust and wet concrete, though construction had stopped. A welder named Musa Sani stood first. "Oga Wale, we heard 200 people may be sent home." "No decision like that has been made," Wale said. "Will our salary enter this month?" Another man asked. "Yes, and next month?" Wale did not lie. The board has protected 12 weeks of wages. Beyond that depends on financing, insurance, and the remediation schedule. Murmurs moved through the room. A woman in an orange vest raised her hand. "Sir, why did the concrete fail?" "Because altered certificates were accepted into our process. We are investigating whether it was fraud, negligence, or both." Will the small people carry the punishment while the big people investigate? The question came from the back. Whale looked toward the voice. No. A bitter laugh followed. They always say no before salary stops. Whale nodded. Then do not trust my word alone. Tayo will provide the union with the ring-fenced wage account confirmation and the independent oversight terms. You should verify them yourselves. The room quieted, he continued. Also, nobody should enter the affected structure without written clearance. Not even to collect tools. If any supervisor pressures you, report directly through the safety line. A job is not worth a life. Musa studied him. Ogre, people are saying you are selling your house. That is my private matter. Because of us? Because the company has obligations. Musa shook his head slowly. Rich men do not normally sell houses for workers. Maybe that is why workers normally stop believing rich men. No one applauded. Whale did not want applause. Trust built more slowly than that. 3 days later, the Ikoyi mansion was officially listed for sale at 4,950 million naira. The asking price made business blogs. Photographs of its swimming pool, cinema, and 6 bedrooms spread online beside rumors that Whale had collapsed financially. Aisha saw the listing while having lunch with Yemi at a private club in Victoria Island. He has really done it, she said. Yemi glanced at the screen. Good. Good? The more desperate he appears, the easier the board becomes. My investment group can take Marina Crest and 2 other assets, inject working capital, and leave Whale with a minority position. Aisha lowered her voice. He will never agree. He will when the bank lines tighten. What about me? Yemi smiled. You will not be living in any Surulaire apartment, if that is what you are asking. She touched his hand beneath the table. I need certainty, Yemi. And I need the confidential board paper showing their minimum sale position. Aisha removed her hand. You always need one more thing. That is how certainty is purchased. She studied him. The house is becoming difficult. Tayo is checking everything. He even asked about my access card. Yemi Alo's smile faded. Did you delete the footage? Yes, properly? I used the study account like you said. That is not what I asked. Aisha squeezed her face. You told me pressing delete was enough. I told you to clear the local clip. I assumed you knew systems retain fragments. Her fingers went cold. Can they recover it? Maybe. Maybe not. Yemi, stop panicking. Keep Whale focused on the company. Encourage him to sell. Once the transaction begins, nobody will care about one housekeeper. Aisha looked through the club window at the water beyond the marina. For the first time, the plan no longer felt elegant. It felt dangerous. That evening, Whale returned to the mansion and found Aisha waiting beside Pook's suitcases. I am moving to the wheat baker for a few days, she said. Why? Because this house has become hostile. To you? You look at me like a suspect. Tayo questions me. Staff members whisper. And now everybody online thinks we are broke. We are not broke. You sold the cars. I sold 2 cars. The company still operates. You listed the house. To release capital, you cancelled our wedding. To protect obligations. Aisha stepped closer. Listen to yourself. Obligations. Workers, customers, compliance. Where am I inside all this? Whale met her eyes. That depends on where you choose to stand. She stared at him. Then she took an envelope from her handbag and placed it on the table. Inside was a proposal from Yemi Alo's investment group. They can solve everything, she said. Sell them 60% of Balagun urban projects. Keep your name, keep some shares, and let professionals carry the risk. Whale read the first page. The valuation was 38%. below the most conservative independent estimate. Worse, the offer referred to a confidential threshold discussed only in a closed board session 2 days earlier. He did not react. Where did you get this? Yemi sent it. He wants to help. How does he know our internal liquidity flaw? Aisha Alo's gaze shifted for less than a second. I don't alert know what that means. Whaley closed the envelope. I will send it to Tayo. You will ruin every opportunity with that man. Tayo protects the company. Tayo controls you. No. He tells me the truth even when I dislike it. Aisha picked up one suitcase, or then marry him. Whale did not stop her. At the door, she turned. I will come back when you are ready to behave like the man I agreed to marry. And what man is that? The man who could provide a life worth entering. The words hung between them. Whale's voice became quiet. If the mansion goes, if the cars go, if the parties stop, am I still the man you agreed to marry? Aisha laughed softly, almost sadly. You cannot separate a man from the life he offers. She wheeled the suitcase outside. Whale stood in the empty entrance hall while the front door closed. Upstairs, 23 rooms held things nobody needed. The house had never felt poorer. The sale of the mansion took 19 days. Whale accepted an offer below the asking price because the buyer could complete quickly. But he refused to hide the reason for the sale from the board. The proceeds did not enter his personal current account. They moved through solicitors into the ring-fenced remediation and wage protection structure Tayo had established, with every transfer visible to the independent auditors and the workers' Alo representatives. It was not charity, it was accountability. On the morning the sale completed, Grace gathered the household employees in the breakfast room. Some had worked there for 7 years. Some had joined only for the wedding preparations. All of them looked toward Whale with the same controlled fear people wore when their salaries were about to become a speech. Whale remained standing. The house changes ownership on Friday, he said. No one will be asked to work beyond that date unless the buyer offers a new contract. Every employee will receive salary through the final day, payment for unused leave, pension contributions, and 3 months. Alo severance. A gardener named Joseph raised his hand. Sir, what of workers who do not have a written contract? They will receive the same calculation based on payroll and service records. Lack of paper will not erase work already done. Grace looked relieved. Whaley continued. Tayo Alo's office will hold individual meetings. Do not sign any document you do not understand. You may bring a representative or ask for time to review it. Several people exchanged glances. Most employers did not tell workers to slow down before signing. After the meeting, Whale asked Grace to arrange delivery of Dami Alo's property and settlement documents. He also instructed that her paid suspension continue until the investigation ended, even though her household role had technically disappeared with the sale. Tayo approved the payment but warned him. Do not turn guilt into favoritism, he said. Her rights must be protected because they are rights, not because you now believe she is good. Wei looked at him. You think I am doing that? I think rich people sometimes discover fairness only after an unfair event touches someone they like. Build the process so it protects the person you do not know as well. Wale wrote the words down. Dami received her final settlement at Tayo Alo's office 3 days later. The document showed every figure. Salary, unused leave, pension shortfall, paid suspension and severance. She read all 7 pages before signing. Tayo watched without impatience. You can take it home, he said. I have checked it. Sir, do you understand each line? Yes. The pension adjustment is for the 4 months the previous administrator filed late. Tayo nodded. Correct. Dami signed. When she finished, he slid a second letter across the table. It confirmed that no disciplinary finding had been made against her and that the theft allegation remained under investigation. Keep copies, he said. The original goes into the personnel file. If any prospective employer calls, the company must not describe you as a thief. Dami held the letter with both hands. The hospital canteen suspended my application. Send them this. If they refuse you solely because of an unproven allegation, document it. She gave a tired smile. Everything is document, sir. When power is uneven, paper can become a witness. Dami looked toward the window. Paper did not stop people from calling me names online. No. It may help make them answer later. She placed the letter inside her handbag. Have you recovered the camera? She asked. Not yet. Do you think Madam put the bracelet there? Tayo was silent for a moment. I think the evidence is moving in that direction. But my opinion cannot replace proof, Dami nodded. I understand. You are handling this better than many executives would. She almost laughed. Sir, when poor people lose control, people call it character. When rich people lose control, they call it pressure. We learn to hold ourselves. Tayo Alo's face softened. That should not be necessary. But it is. The hospital canteen reconsidered after receiving the letter. Dami began work the following Monday at 6 in the morning, serving meals, checking inventory, and coordinating delivery records. The salary was lower than what she had earned at the mansion. But the hours allowed her to attend evening classes and accompany Ruth to treatment appointments. On her third day, a co-worker recognized her from the photograph online. You are that diamond girl, the woman said while they stacked trays. Dami did not look up. My name is Dami. They said they found the bracelet in your locker. They did. The woman paused. And you are still saying you did not take it. Dami placed the last tray on the rack. If somebody found a knife under your bed, would that prove you put it there? The woman squeezed her face. Why would anybody put a bracelet in your locker? That is what an investigation is for. The supervisor overheard and ended the conversation, but the question followed Dami through the week. Patients looked at her hands. Staff members locked cupboards when she entered. One man joked that she should not serve food near expensive watches. She recorded each incident, not because she enjoyed living by notebook, because memory alone could be bullied. Whale moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Surulere with 1 suitcase, 7 shirts, a kettle, and more files than furniture. Sani remained employed as his driver, though Whale asked him to use a company pool car instead of a luxury vehicle. The first night, the electricity failed at 9:43. The backup inverter powered 1 fan and the refrigerator, but not the air conditioner. Whale lay awake, listening to generators from the surrounding buildings. He did not feel noble. He felt angry, betrayed and tired. There were moments when he wanted the mansion back, the quiet rooms, the staff who knew how he took coffee, the freedom of never checking whether the prepaid meter was low. Sacrifice looked cleaner in newspaper language than it felt at 2 in the morning. At 6:15, he attempted to fry eggs. The oil smoked. 1 egg broke on the counter. The second stuck to the pan. Sani arrived and found him opening every window. Oga, hope no problem? Wei looked at the blackened pan. Apparently I have been defeated by breakfast. Sani tried not to laugh. He failed. For the first time in weeks, Whale laughed too. The moment did not fix anything, but it reminded him he was still capable of breathing without a crisis meeting. 2 days later, Dami came to the apartment to return a sealed folder Grace had mistakenly packed with her belongings. She arrived at 4:30 after work, still wearing the canteen aloe's pale blue uniform. Whale opened the door and looked surprised. "You could have sent this through a courier." "It contains staff medical forms, sir. I did not want it moving anyhow. Come in." Dami stepped into the sparsely furnished sitting room. One plastic chair stood beside a brown sofa. Boxes of files covered the dining table. The fan turned with a soft clicking noise. She glanced around, then quickly looked away. Whale noticed. "It is smaller than the other place. It is a home if you can rest inside it. I have not mastered that part." She handed him the folder. On the kitchen counter, the burnt pan was soaking in water. Dami raised one eyebrow. Whale followed her gaze. "Do not say anything." "I did not speak, sir. Your face spoke." A small smile escaped her. Then she became serious. "How is the investigation?" "The forensic company recovered partial system records. They need more time for the video." "And the company?" "Still standing." "You look tired. So does everyone who says that to me." Dami hesitated, then opened the cloth bag she carried. "I brought soup from the canteen. It was surplus, properly recorded before you ask." Whale took the container. "Thank you, it is only one meal." "I know." "Good. Because I cannot become your unpaid cook, because you sold your house." Whale blinked. Dami Alo's voice remained respectful but firm. "Kindness must not become another name for unpaid labor, sir. I can help as a human being. But every worker should receive what they earned." The words entered him slowly. At the mansion, Dami had often arrived before sunrise, stayed beyond closing, and accepted Aisha Alo's demands because she feared losing income. Whale had paid salaries on time and believed that made him a good employer. He had never asked how power moved through the house when he was not present. "You are right," he said. Dami seemed surprised by the speed of his answer. "I should have seen more than payroll," he continued. "I should have asked how people were being treated. You were not the person insulting us. I was the person who created the house and left its culture to chance." Dami looked at him, then changed the next one. He nodded. Before leaving, she gave him the phone number of a volunteer group supporting families affected by suspended construction projects. The group needed verified information about Marina Crest so rumors would not create panic. "They will not protect your image," she warned. "They ask difficult questions. They should. They may criticize the company. They should, if the criticism is accurate." Dami studied him for a second, then nodded with approval she did not express aloud. After she left, Whale ate the soup standing at the kitchen counter. It was peppery enough to make his eyes water. He finished every drop. Aisha, meanwhile, had extended her hotel stay and begun appearing openly with Yemi. She did not announce a relationship, but photographers captured them leaving restaurants and entering a private banking event together. Her friends told her the photographs made Whale look weak. She liked that. Then Yemi sent her another message. "Need the board recovery ringwidge before Friday. Without it, the offer may be withdrawn." Aisha called him immediately. "I cannot enter the house. Now, it has been sold. You had 3 weeks. I gave you the first proposal figures. And they changed after the wage account was funded. I need the updated floor. Tayo is watching every document." Yemi Alo's voice hardened. "Aisha, do not become useless when the difficult part begins." She went quiet. Nobody spoke to her like that. "You should remember who you are talking to," she said. "I am talking to someone who wants a secure future, but keeps arriving with half the information." Her pride burned. "What happens after you buy the company?" You receive the advisory role we discussed. We travel. You build your events business with proper clients. And Whale? He remains a minority founder until the board removes him for performance. Aisha looked at the hotel room around her. The white sheets, the room service tray, the flowers she had ordered for herself. Send me the exact document name, she said. The following day, she met Grace at a storage facility where household records were being sorted for transfer. She claimed she needed wedding invoices for tax purposes. While Grace answered a phone call, Aisha opened one sealed box labeled Ecutive, Home Office, and photographed 23 pages from the latest board recovery pack. She sent them to Yemi from the car. At 8:18 that night, Tayo LR document monitoring system flagged the pages when language from a confidential internal paper appeared in a revised acquisition proposal sent by Yemi Elo's group. The same unusual phrase appeared in both documents. Minimum defensible continuity threshold. Tayo called Wale. We have a leak, he said. From the board? Possibly. But the leaked version contains a handwritten correction that existed only in the hard copy stored at your former house. Whale sat upright on the sofa. Who accessed the storage? I am checking. At 9:02, Grace confirmed Aisha had been there. At 9:20, the storage facility provided camera footage showing Aisha opening the executive box while Grace Elo's back was turned. At 9:44, Tayo received the digital forensics firm Alo's preliminary message. Recovered video fragments confirm movement in staff corridor. Full reconstruction explained within 72 hours. Tayo read the sentence twice. Then his phone rang again. It was Dummy. Sir, she said, breathless. Madam has posted my name. Aisha had gone live on social media from her hotel suite. In front of more than 12,000 viewers, she said she had ended her engagement because Whale had chosen a dishonest employee and a failing company over the woman who loved him. She did not merely imply. She named Dami Okafor. She stole from me, Aisha said into the camera. The bracelet was found in her locker, but because poor people know how to cry, everybody suddenly forgot the evidence. The clip spread within minutes. Dami Alo's canteen supervisor called before the live broadcast ended. You should not come in tomorrow, he said. Management needs to review this matter. Dami stood outside the hospital beneath a broken security light, holding the phone to her ear. My mother Alo's procedure is next week, she whispered. I am sorry. This is not my decision. The call ended. For a long moment, Dami did not move. Then she opened her blue notebook and wrote the exact time. 10:07 p.m. Public accusation repeated. Employment suspended. Her tears fell onto the page, blurring one word. She wrote it again. Whale watched Aisha Alo's broadcast from the crisis room at Balagan Urban Projects. By the time she finished, his anger had become so clean and focused that nobody in the room needed him to raise his voice. File everything tonight, he told Tayo. Defamation, interference with employment, malicious falsehood. Whatever applies. Tayo closed the laptop. We will send preservation notices immediately. The claim can follow after we confirm the evidence package. She has destroyed Damialo's job in public. I know. We have enough. We have enough to act carefully, not enough to become careless. Struck the table with his palm. Files jumped. Kola and 2 finance officers looked away. Tayo did not. Do not make her suffering another stage for your anger, he said. Call Dami. Ask what she needs. Do not decide for her because you feel guilty. Whale stared at him for a moment, then picked up his phone. Dami answered on the 4th ring. Sir, I saw the broadcast. She said nothing. We are taking legal action. Have you recovered the video? Not fully. Then first recover it. Aisha named you. Your employer suspended you. I know what happened to me. Her voice was tired, not disrespectful. But if you rush out because you are angry, people will say a billionaire bullied his former fiancée to protect his maid. I need the truth arranged, so even a person who dislikes me cannot pretend not to see it. The room around Whale went quiet. Dami continued. My canteen job can wait for a letter. My name cannot survive another half investigation. What about your mother Alo's procedure? We are speaking with the hospital. Do you need help? There was a pause. I need the salary they owe me for this week. I need the suspension reason in writing. I need the allegation corrected. Whale understood the boundary inside her answer. She was not asking him to rescue her with a check. She was asking for systems to work. Ntayo will contact the hospital employer about the written reason, he said, and my company will continue your paid suspension until the investigation closes, as agreed. Thank you, Dami. Yes, sir. I am sorry I did not see what was happening in my house. She was silent for so long he thought the line had dropped. Then she said, see it now. The call ended. The next 72 hours moved with the hard patience of forensic work. The digital team created a bit-for-bit copy of the camera recorder, calculated checksums, and reconstructed deleted fragments from unused storage sectors. They did not enhance shadows into miracles. They did not invent missing frames. They recovered what the machine had retained. At 3:18 on Monday afternoon, the first complete clip appeared. The timestamp read 2:13 a.m. Tuesday. Aisha entered the staff corridor wearing a wine-colored silk robe. She tried 3 locker keys, found the correct one, and opened Dami Alo's locker. She remained there for 52 seconds, looking through the contents. That clip did not show the bracelet. It showed preparation. The second recovered clip began at 8:34 p.m. on the night of the dinner. Aisha entered carrying a folded white handkerchief. She opened locker 7, removed a red velvet case, held it briefly beneath the camera Alo's view, then pushed it under Dami Alo's belongings. The image was clear enough to identify her face. Nobody in the forensic room spoke. Tayo asked the lead examiner to replay it, once, twice. On the third viewing, Whale turned away. He had expected it. Expectation did not reduce the shock of seeing deliberate cruelty performed with calm hands. She was willing to send Dami to prison, he said. Tayo nodded. Yes. Because Dami saw her enter Yemi Alo's car, and because framing her also distracted you from the document leak. The team examined the deletion log. At 9:51, the guest account on Wali Alo's study computer had removed the video segment. Aisha Alo's phone had connected to the study Alo's Wi-Fi at the same minute. Her browser history, obtained through a lawful internal review of the household device and preserved cloud logs, showed searches about deleting CCTV footage and whether removed clips could be recovered. The evidence tightened. Dami Alo's blue notebook provided the independent timeline. On the day before Aisha Alo's first 2:13 entry, Dami had written, Madam asked where spare locker keys are stored. Said she wants to check whether staff steal food. Grace told her keys are in administration drawer. On the day Dami saw Aisha and Yemi outside the hotel, she had written the location, the time 5:46 p.m., and 4 digits from the vehicle plate. Traffic camera records confirmed a black Range Rover registered to a company controlled by Yemi passed that junction at 5:49. The notebook did not prove adultery. It proved Dami Alo's memory was not invented after the bracelet appeared. Then the document leak became clearer. The storage facility footage showed Aisha photographing board papers. Metadata from the images appeared in a secure export obtained after Yemi Allo's investment group was served with a preservation notice. The handwritten correction in the board paper matched a sentence inserted into the acquisition offer 14 hours later. At 6:30 that evening, Tayo laid the complete evidence map across Wal Elo's apartment table. We can make a police complaint regarding the false placement of property, interference with evidence, unauthorized access and possible trade secret misuse, he said. Dami can pursue civil remedies. The company can act against Yemi Allo's group. We also need to notify his bank Allo's compliance department because he used his position and information channels in this transaction. Do it. Tayo did not move. There is one more decision. What? Aisha made the accusation publicly. Dami Allo's name will not be repaired by a quiet letter alone. Wale looked at the evidence spread before him. The recovery forum is next week, he said. Yes. Workers, customers, journalists, union representatives, and the board will already be present. You want to reveal it there? I want Dampi to decide whether she wants the correction made there. Not you, not me. The following morning, Dami met them in a private conference room at the company headquarters. She wore a plain yellow blouse and carried her brown handbag. She seemed smaller inside the glass room than she had in Wayalalo's kitchen. But when Tayo showed the recovered footage, she did not look away. Aisha entered the corridor, opened the locker, placed the case inside. Dami pressed one hand over her mouth. The clip ended. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then Dami asked, "Can people say it was edited?" "The independent examiner will explain the recovery process," Tayo said. "And the original recorder, forensic copy, checksums and export logs are preserved. And the access card matches the footage. The study computer matches the deletion." She nodded slowly. Wale watched tears gather in her eyes. They did not fall. "I want the truth shown," she said. "But I do not want my mother Allo's hospital paper, my salary, or my private things displayed." "They will not be," Tayo assured her. "I also do not want people shouting that Madam should die or suffer. I want her to answer. That is different." Wale leaned forward. "You are asking for mercy after what she did?" "No, sir. I am asking for discipline." Dami looked at him. "A mob can turn on anybody. Today they will use it for me. Tomorrow they can use it against another poor woman without evidence. Let the truth be strong enough without cruelty." Tayo nodded, agreed. Dami took a breath. "What will happen to the company workers?" Wale explained that the insurer had provisionally accepted part of the claim, subject to final allocation. A non-core parcel of land had been sold, and a domestic pension fund was considering an investment tied to job protection and independent project oversight. "So the company can survive?" she asked. "It can if the terms are finalized." "And Yemi Allo's offer?" "Rejected." A faint, satisfied light entered her face. "Good." Wale almost smiled. Then Tayo placed a draft public correction before her. Dami read it twice. She crossed out one sentence describing her as a loyal and selfless domestic employee. Wale noticed. "Why remove that?" "Because I do not need to become an angel before people admit I am not a thief," she said. "Ordinary innocence should be enough." Wale felt the sentence settle somewhere permanent. The forum was scheduled for Saturday at Eco Convention Center, the same hall Aisha had booked for the wedding reception. When the original event was cancelled, Wale Allo's company recovered most of the deposit. The venue later offered the same date for the public recovery meeting at a reduced corporate rate. The irony was not lost on anyone. Invitations went to all 287 workers, the 61 buyers, major suppliers, regulators, union leaders, and selected journalists. The program listed 4 subjects: engineering remediation, wage protection, customer safeguards, and governance reforms. Aisha received a formal notice requiring her attendance because the company intended to address the leaked board documents and public allegations against Dami. She called Whale for the first time in 9 days. "What are you planning?" "A public correction. You cannot discuss private household matters at a company forum. You made them public. You are trying to humiliate me because I left you. No. You are being given an opportunity to respond to evidence." "What evidence?" Whale remained silent. Aisha Alo's breathing changed. "You recovered the video." He said nothing. Whale: "You should attend with a lawyer." She ended the call. Within minutes, she called Yemi. "They recovered something," she said. "How do you know?" his voice. Yemi was quiet. "Yemi, what do we do?" "We do not panic. You keep saying that while everything is falling. If there is footage, we challenge authenticity. If there are access logs, we say your card was used. If there are documents, we say Whale gave them to you during the engagement. And the deleted files? Stress, confusion, household privacy. There are explanations." Aisha sat on the edge of the hotel bed. "Will your bank protect us?" "My bank has nothing to do with your domestic issue." The words chilled her. "What do you mean, my issue?" "I mean exactly that. Do not bring my employer into a quarrel between you, Whale, and a housekeeper. But the board papers do not discuss confidential matters on the phone." The line went dead. Aisha stared at the screen. For the first time since she chose Yemi, she understood that he had built an exit for himself inside every promise. Still, she refused to disappear. On Saturday morning, she dressed in a silver gown, fastened the same diamond bracelet around her wrist, and told herself that confidence could defeat suspicion. She would enter the hall before Whale spoke. She would define the story first. And once a crowd believed the first voice, truth would have to fight uphill. The hall opened at 10:00 o'clock. Workers arrived in clean shirts, union vests, and company overalls. Buyers carried folders thick with receipts, emails, and photographs of apartments that existed only as drawings and suspended concrete. Journalists gathered beside the stage. Representatives from the building control agency occupied the front row, while 3 officials from Yemi Alo's bank sat near the aisle with expressions too neutral to be accidental. Dami entered through a side door with Ruth and Tayo. Ruth walked slowly, one hand resting on her daughter Alo's arm. She knew the truth now. Dami had finally told her everything 2 nights earlier, expecting anger because she had hidden the accusation for so long. Ruth had cried. Then she had said, "My daughter, poverty can bend the back, but do not allow anybody to bend your name." Now she wore a simple blue dress and carried the hospital envelope. Dami had asked her to leave at home. She refused. "This paper is not shame," she said, "is only sickness." Dami did not argue. At 10:43, Whale stepped onto the stage. The room settled slowly. Some workers applauded. Others remained silent. The buyers did not come for inspiration. They came for answers. Whale began without music or praise. 37 days ago, an independent review found serious defects at Marina Crest. 17 core samples failed. 3 inspection signatures were falsified, and 1 laboratory certificate had been altered. As owner of the company, I accept responsibility for the system that allowed those documents to pass. A murmur moved through the hall. He continued, "Responsibility does not mean I personally changed the certificates. It means I cannot hide behind the person who did. Our customers gave us money. Our workers gave us labor. Our suppliers gave us credit and trust. We owe all of them more than excuses. On the screen appeared the remediation plan, the ring-fenced wage account, and the independent oversight structure. Kola explained the engineering sequence. Tayo explained the customer safeguards. A union representative confirmed that wage funds had been verified. Then, Whaley announced the completed financing package. The insurer had accepted 1,970,000,000 naira of the claim, subject to recovery rights against the fraudulent subcontractor. The non-core land sale had generated 2,410,000,000. A Nigerian pension fund had approved the balance through a structured investment that prohibited mass layoffs during the remediation period and required quarterly public reporting. No worker would lose accrued wages. No customer deposit would be diverted. Marina Crest would be repaired, inspected again, and delivered under an extended timetable with temporary housing support for affected buyers. For several seconds, the hall remained quiet as people absorbed the numbers. Then Musa Sani stood among the workers. "Does that mean we keep our jobs?" he called. "Yes," Whale said. "Subject to ordinary performance and safety rules, all 287 positions are protected during remediation." The workers rose. The applause came like rain on metal roofing. It rolled from the back of the hall toward the stage, carrying relief, anger, and disbelief together. Some men hugged. A woman in an orange safety vest covered her face. One buyer began crying beside her husband. Whale did not raise his hands like a politician. He waited. When the noise softened, Aisha entered through the main doors. Heads turned. She wore silver. The diamond bracelet flashed at her wrist. Yemi walked beside her in a dark suit, his expensive cufflinks polished bright enough to catch the stage lights. They did not sit at the back. Aisha moved toward the front as though the room belonged to her, but her eyes found Dami near the aisle. Dami was seated beside Ruth, wearing a plain white blouse and black skirt. Aisha stopped. "What is she doing here?" Her voice carried farther than she intended. Tayo approached. "Lims Okafor is present because her name will be addressed." Aisha laughed. "Her name? This is a company meeting, not a rehabilitation center for thieves." Phones rose. Whale stepped down from the stage. "Aisha, you were advised to attend with counsel and respond through the proper session. Do not instruct me as if I am your employee." She looked around at the crowd and lifted her voice. "Everybody should know why this man Alo's judgment cannot be trusted. He cancelled our marriage, sold our home, and nearly destroyed his company because he became emotionally attached to a housekeeper who stole from me." The room tightened. Yemi touched her elbow. "Aisha, sit down." She pulled away. "No. I am tired of being painted as wicked because I refuse to follow a failing man into poverty." Her gaze returned to Dami. "Security. Drag this kitchen thief out before her poverty stains the carpet." 300 people turned. Dami Alo's fingers tightened around her brown handbag. Ruth reached for her arm, but Dami stood. Aisha pointed at her. "You stole my 27 million naira bracelet. You people see rich homes and suddenly forget your level. Today, everybody will know what you are." A glass slipped from a waiter, Sol's tray. It shattered. The sound cut through the hall. Dami lifted her chin. "Madam, repeat that accusation into the microphone. Let nobody say tomorrow that I misunderstood you." Aisha smiled with all her teeth. She marched to the stage, took the handheld microphone from its stand, and faced the room. "I said Dami Okafor is a thief. My bracelet was found inside her locker. That is evidence, not emotion." A few people murmured. Dami remained standing. Whale raised one finger. The lights dimmed. The screen came alive. The first recovered clip played without narration. 2:13 a.m. Aisha entered the staff corridor in her silk robe. She tried the locker keys, opened Dami Alo's locker, and searched through it. In the hall, Aisha stopped breathing. The clip ended. Tayo walked onto the stage. This footage was recovered from the original household recorder by an independent digital forensics firm. He said, "The examiner is present and the integrity values of the original and forensic copy have been preserved. The first clip shows preparation. The second shows the act." The screen changed. 8:34 p.m. Aisha appeared again, carrying the folded handkerchief. She opened locker 7. She removed the red velvet case from the cloth, placed it beneath Dami Alo's personal items, and closed the door. The hall stopped breathing. Aisha Alo's hand loosened around the microphone. It struck the stage floor with a hollow boom. "No," she whispered. The video continued. Her face turned toward the camera for one clear second before she walked out. Whale did not look at the crowd. He looked at Dami. She was crying now, silently. Ruth stood beside her, one arm around her shoulders. Tayo presented the access log. Aisha Alo's card opened the corridor at both recorded times. He presented the recovered deletion record, showing the guest account on Wale Alo's study. Computer removed 11 minutes and 22 seconds of footage. He explained the phone connection log and the browser searches about deleting CCTV files. Aisha found her voice. That video is fake." The independent examiner stood from the front row. The footage is reconstructed from data fragments on the original recorder. No generative alteration was applied. The recovery steps are documented and reproducible. "You were paid by Whale. The firm was retained through counsel, but our methods are available for independent review." Aisha turned toward Yemi. "Say something." He remained seated. Tayo continued. The bracelet case was preserved immediately after discovery. Miss Okafor Alo's fingerprints were not found on the case or the bracelet. That fact alone would not prove innocence. But it is consistent with the video, showing she did not handle the item. The case also contained fibers matching the white linen handkerchief seen in Ms. Coca Alo's possession. Aisha shook her head rapidly. "All of you planned this." "No," Dami said from the aisle. "You planned it." Her voice was not loud, but the microphone on the stage caught it. Every face turned toward her. Dami continued. "You planned it because I saw you enter his car. You knew I had no money for a powerful lawyer. You knew people would believe your jewelry before they believed my mouth." Yemi stood suddenly. "This has nothing to do with me." Tio looked at him. The next material concerns the company. The screen displayed the storage facility footage. Aisha opened the executive records box and photographed the board recovery papers. The image changed to a close-up of a handwritten correction. Minimum, defensible, continuity, threshold. Then it showed the same unusual phrase inside Yemi Alo's acquisition proposal 14 hours later. The bank officials near the aisle began writing. Tayo spoke carefully. The confidential document existed only in hard copy at the storage facility. Access footage shows Ms. Coca photographing 23 pages. Metadata obtained under preservation procedures confirms images matching those pages were transmitted before the revised offer was prepared. Yemi raised both hands. "I receive hundreds of documents. I did not know the source." Aisha turned toward him. "You asked me for it." The words escaped before she could stop them. A low sound moved through the hall. Yemi Alo's face changed. "Aisha, be careful. You told me you needed the recovery range." You said once you bought the company, I would have an advisory position. I said no such thing. You liar! She stepped toward him, but he moved back. One of the bank compliance officers stood. Mr. Daniels, your access to bank systems and client activities is suspended pending immediate internal investigation. Please surrender your staff identification and company device to our security representative. Yemi stared at the official. You cannot suspend me in a public hall based on a domestic quarrel. This action concerns undisclosed conflicts, receipt of confidential commercial material, and possible misuse of your position. It is precautionary, not a final finding. The distinction sounded exactly like the one Dami had been denied in public. Yemi looked toward the exits. 2 bank security officers were already moving closer. Aisha reached for his arm. Tell them the truth. He pulled away from her as if her touch burned. You created this mess, he hissed. Her face collapsed. You said we were together. I said what was necessary to manage you. The cruelty of the sentence struck even the people who disliked her. Aisha stood beneath the bright stage lights, abandoned by the man she had chosen, while the man she betrayed watched in silence. The crowd began shouting, "Shame! Arrest her! Let her kneel! Remove the bracelet!" Phones rose higher. Some people pushed into the aisle, hungry for a closer image of her humiliation. Wales stepped onto the stage and took the microphone. Stop! The noise continued. He raised his voice once. Stop! The hall quieted. Wale looked across the crowd. What Aisha did to Dami was cruel, calculated, and dangerous. She will answer through legal and professional processes. But we will not defend Dami Allo's dignity by turning another human being into entertainment. A man near the back protested. She wanted to send the girl to prison. Yes, Wale said. And that is why evidence, not a mob, must decide consequences. He turned toward Aisha. You will receive the process you tried to deny her. Aisha Allo's eyes filled, but Wale did not soften the truth. The engagement is over. The company has referred the evidence to the proper authorities. Dami Allo's civil rights will be protected. You will not contact her except through counsel. Aisha looked at him, as if searching for the man who once bought her diamonds and cancelled meetings when she cried. He was still there. He simply saw her clearly now. Tayo invited Dami to the stage. She hesitated. Ruth squeezed her hand. Go, my daughter. Dami walked forward through the aisle. Workers shifted to make space. Nobody touched her, but heads lowered as she passed. Some of the same people who had watched Aisha Allo's broadcast now avoided Dami Allo's eyes. On the stage, Tayo offered her the microphone. Dami held it with both hands. I did not need anybody to call me an angel, she said. I did not need gifts. I only needed the truth to be checked before my life was destroyed. The hall was completely silent. She looked toward the workers, the buyers, the cameras, and finally Aisha. A poor person can lie. A rich person can lie. Uniform does not prove character. Jewelry does not prove character. Before you destroy somebody because an accusation sounds convenient, ask who had access. Ask who benefits. Preserve the evidence and allow the person to speak. She paused. My name is Dami Okafor. I worked in a kitchen. That work did not make me less human. Ruth began crying openly. The applause started in the workers' allo section. It rose slowly, then filled the hall. Dami did not smile. This was not victory in the simple way people imagined. Her name had been dragged through mouths she would never know. Her job had been interrupted. Her mother had watched strangers call her a criminal. Applause could not erase those days. But truth had finally entered the room with evidence beside it. That was enough for the first step. The consequences did not arrive in one dramatic night. Real accountability rarely moves that quickly. It came through letters, interviews, suspended accounts, legal filings, settlement meetings, and long mornings in rooms where nobody cared how expensive a person Alo's clothes were. Aisha was questioned regarding the planted bracelet, the deleted footage, unauthorized access to company documents, and the public statements against Dami. Her lawyers advised her not to speak online again. The diamond bracelet was retained temporarily as evidence, then returned through counsel after documentation. Her events company lost 3 major contracts within 6 weeks. 2 clients cited reputational risk. 1 cited a morality clause. The remaining staff demanded clear separation between Aisha Alo's personal conduct and company finances, after auditors discovered that 18,700,000 naira from a wedding planning account had been used for hotel stays, luxury purchases, and payments unrelated to any client event. She did not wake up homeless. She woke up accountable. Under a civil settlement reached months later, Aisha was required to retract the theft allegation in the same public channels where she had repeated it. She paid compensation for reputational harm and lost earnings. She also reimbursed the misused business funds through a structured payment plan and agreed not to contact Dami directly. The statement was brief. I accused Ms. Dami Okafor of theft. That accusation was false. Evidence established that I placed the bracelet in her locker. I withdraw my statements without qualification. Aisha read it from a prepared page at a press conference attended by fewer cameras than she expected. Her voice shook once, but nobody interrupted. There was no dramatic collapse, no public kneeling, no crowd throwing insults, only the truth. For Aisha, that was harder. Yemi Alo's bank completed its internal investigation after 13 weeks. It found that he had failed to disclose a personal relationship relevant to a proposed transaction, received confidential commercial information through an improper source, and used bank's resources to advance an acquisition in which governance safeguards had been bypassed. He was dismissed. The bank referred parts of the matter to regulators and withdrew from every proposal involving Balagun urban projects. Yemi challenged the dismissal, but the documentary trail was stronger than his confidence. His case continued quietly through professional channels, without the public glamour he had always used as armor. When people asked Aisha whether he still called, she changed the subject. He did not. Dami returned to the hospital canteen only long enough to receive the salary owed for the suspension period and a written apology from management. The supervisor admitted they had acted on a viral accusation without giving her a chance to respond. Dami accepted the apology, but she did not remain there. Why are you leaving? The supervisor asked. Because you protected the cupboard before you protected the person, she said. I need to work where policy is stronger than gossip. She walked out with her wages, her letter, and her dignity. The compensation from Aisha Alo's settlement allowed Ruth to begin the recommended procedure without delay. Whale offered additional financial help, but Dami declined direct payment. Sir, the money repairing the harm should first do the repairing, she said. If there is a balance later, I will plan with the hospital. Whale respected the decision. Ruth Alo's treatment was not easy. There were days she returned home weak, days when medication caused nausea, and one frightening night when Dami took her back to the hospital at 1:36 in the morning. But the procedure succeeded. Her doctors stabilized her condition and adjusted the long-term plan. 3 months after the forum, Ruth walked from the clinic to the car without stopping to rest. Dami cried more that day than she had on the stage. Balogun urban projects also changed, though Whaley discovered that announcing reform was easier than practicing it. He commissioned an independent review of household and corporate employment systems. The findings were uncomfortable. Some domestic workers had no written role descriptions. Overtime approval depended too heavily on verbal instructions. Junior employees did not trust the complaint channels because supervisors controlled the first response. Contractors had weaker protections than permanent staff, even when they worked beside each other every day. Whale published the findings internally. Several executives objected. "You are exposing us," Bode Williams said during one board meeting. "No," Whale replied. "The conduct exposed us. The report only stopped us from pretending." The company introduced a confidential reporting line managed by an external provider, anti-retaliation rules, mandatory written outcomes for disciplinary investigations, and a requirement that serious allegations be reviewed by someone outside the immediate chain of command. Domestic and facilities, workers received standard contracts, leave records, and access to grievance procedures. Managers attended training on evidence, dignity, and the difference between authority and humiliation. Some rolled their eyes. Tayo made them attend again. Whale also addressed the workers at Marina Crest without cameras. "I sold a house and people called me generous," he said. "But selling one asset does not make a fair system. A good employer is not someone who performs kindness when everybody is watching. A good employer builds rules that still protect people when he is absent." Musasani raised a hand. "Oga, are you now saying workers should not trust good bosses?" "I am saying workers should not have to depend only on a boss being good." Musa nodded slowly. "That one makes sense." The remediation work resumed under stricter supervision. Every concrete test result went to 3 separate recipients. Site workers received a protected channel to report shortcuts. Buyers received monthly progress reports, showing delays, costs, and inspection results, including information the company would once have hidden behind polished language. Trust did not return immediately. It returned in installments. Dami continued her evening facilities management course. One afternoon, Tayo told her about a new scholarship Whale wanted to create for service workers, seeking professional qualifications. "I do not want a special award carrying my name," she said. "It will not carry your name or Walalo's," Tayo replied. "An outside panel will select recipients. You may apply, but nobody can guarantee the result." "That is better." "Why?" "Because opportunity should not depend on whether a billionaire personally likes your story." Tayo smiled. "You and I agree too often these days." The scholarship fund was established with independent trustees. Applicants submitted employment records, academic results, and proposals showing how they would improve working conditions in their fields. Damialo's proposal was titled, "Dignity is an Operating Standard." She argued that facilities management should not focus only on buildings, inventory, and cleaning schedules. It should also measure whether workers had safe reporting routes, clear duties, proper equipment, and protection from retaliation by powerful residents or executives. The selection panel ranked her application first. When the result arrived, Dami called Ruth before anyone else. "Mama, they chose me." Ruth shouted so loudly that Dami had to move the phone away from her ear. After 18 months, Dami completed the professional program with distinction. Balogun Urban Projects advertised a new role for an employee welfare and facilities coordinator. Dami applied with 11 other candidates. She sat through 2 interviews, 1 written assessment, and a presentation before an external panel. Whale did not participate in the scoring. She got the job. On her first day, her office was not on the executive floor. It was beside the facilities team, close enough to the workers she was meant to support. The door had a glass panel. Dami kept it open whenever confidentiality did not require otherwise. A small framed sentence stood on her desk: "Ordinary innocence should be enough." Whale saw it during a facilities review. "You kept that?" he asked. "I needed to remember why the job exists." He nodded. Their relationship had changed, but not into the easy romance people online tried to create. Gossip pages posted photographs of them at company events and called Dami the poor housekeeper who captured a billionaire aloe's heart. Dami hated the phrase. "My work is not a marriage audition," she told Whaley when one article appeared. "I will ask communications to correct it." "No, let them write. We cannot spend our lives chasing every foolish sentence. Just do not feed it." They became friends slowly, with boundaries neither pretended not to see. Whale valued her judgment. Dami challenged him when his generosity became too personal, or his impatience threatened process. She still called him Sir in formal meetings, and Whale outside them only after 2 years. One evening, they visited Marina Crest after the final structural inspection. The repaired towers stood against a pink Lagos sky. Workers were removing barriers. Families would begin moving in the following month, 14 months later than originally promised, but with independently certified buildings and compensation for the delay. Musa found them near the East Tower. "Oga Whale, Ms. Dami, come and see something." He led them to a plaque mounted inside the entrance lobby. It did not carry Aloe's portrait. It listed the names of the engineers, safety representatives, workers' Aloe committee members, and customer delegates who had participated in the recovery. 296 names. Whale ran his fingers over the metal. "Why is my name not first?" he asked, pretending to be offended. Musa laughed. "Oga, you said system should be stronger than one good boss." Dami looked at Whale. "Your teaching has returned to beat you." He laughed too. The sound traveled through the finished lobby. Aisha saw the building Aloe's reopening on television from the modest office where she was rebuilding her events business under financial supervision. She had fewer staff now. Her clients were smaller. Every expense required documentation. For a long time, she had considered this humiliation. Then, slowly, she began to understand it as structure. The settlement program required her to attend a restorative accountability course and complete supervised service with an organization supporting falsely accused low-income workers. At first, she attended with resentment, speaking only when required. She believed everyone wanted to watch her suffer. One afternoon, a market cleaner described losing her job after a customer falsely accused her of taking a phone later found inside the customer Aloe's own car. The woman said, "They did not even ask me where I was. They only looked at my uniform and decided." Aisha Aloe's hand stopped above her notebook. For the first time, Dami Aloe's fear returned to her not as an obstacle in Aisha Aloe's plan, but as a human experience. She did not become a different person in one afternoon, but she stopped defending what she had done. Months later, through counsel, she asked permission to send Dami a private apology. Dami agreed to receive a written letter, but did not promise forgiveness. Aisha wrote 6 pages. Dami read them once and placed them in a drawer. When Whale asked what she thought, she said, "An apology can be sincere and still arrive too late to restore a relationship. Both things can be true." "Have you forgiven her?" Dami considered the question. "I no longer need her suffering to prove my innocence. Maybe that is the beginning." But trust is not a door that opens because somebody knocks with tears. Whale understood. There was one final lesson he had resisted longer than the others. He had believed the crisis revealed only Aisha Alo's character. In truth, it revealed his own blind spots too. He had mistaken financial provision for emotional attention. He had trusted charm because examining behavior required time. He had allowed a household employee to endure cruelty beneath his roof, while congratulating himself for paying salaries promptly. Aisha planted the bracelet. Yemis exploited the company. But Whale had built a life where people near him were afraid to tell him the truth. That part belonged to him. 2 years after the forum, Whale stood before a group of new managers at the company Alo's training center. Dami sat in the second row, reviewing the employee welfare section of the program. Whale told them, "Do not measure your character by how politely you treat people who can damage you. Measure it by how you treat the person who needs your signature to eat." Nobody clapped immediately. They were thinking. That was better. From the storyteller Allah's point of view, the most dangerous poverty is not an empty bank account. It is a character so empty that it recognizes people only by the price of their clothes, the size of their house, or the usefulness of their silence. Wanting financial security is not wicked. Lying, manipulating, and destroying another person to obtain it is. Kindness also has limits. A poor worker should not have to labor for free, become perfect, or suffer quietly before society agrees that she deserves respect. Dignity is not a reward for exceptional goodness. It belongs to every human being before accusation, before status, and before money enters the room. And whenever a powerful voice accuses someone with less power, pause. Check it. Who had access? Preserve the evidence. Listen before you judge, because money can buy the loudest microphone in the hall. But it cannot make a lie become truth forever.